So it's always nice to try to connect a little bit what you're learning to the time of year, etc., etc. So there's unfortunately too many connections, and we could actually spend the next half hour hacking chumash and hacking midrashim, all about both Thanksgiving, the incredible power of being thankful, which if you're looking to tap into wealth, that's one avenue we could talk about. We could talk about that we're sitting in a shul, and the Gemara in Beracha, Daf Chesed Amud Aleph, teaches us the HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamo el arba amos shel halacha. The Gemara tells stories of different Tanaim and Amoraim that they used to daven in one place and learn in another place, and after they heard about the incredible Maila, they made sure to do both at the same, because that's what elevates your tefillah. Or we could go to the parsha. Anyone who was listening to Lainey this morning, or even if you weren't, you probably heard the last 4 words, which is Aser Tasrenu Lach. That Yaakov Avinu says that whatever I get, I'm going to give and continuously give. So instead of delving in each of those 3 for the next half hour, we're going to delve in none of them. But I'll just mention very quickly, just on the Aser Tasrenu Lach, which is really what we spoke about last time, is the incredible Koyach of Ma'aser, to test God, to try. Someone was just saying before, as he was waiting for his Maisa, and then Baruch Hashem, it happened. Sometimes, I remember many years ago, someone asked from Nissen Kaplan, how come you have so many stories? I don't know if anyone's holding it from Nissen Kaplan hack, but how come? It doesn't make sense. Normal people don't have such stories. He says you do, you just have to look for them. And often that's what happens. Often what goes on over here is maybe, if you weren't giving tzedakah, then it's clear why you didn't have a story, because you'd only get it back if you give it. But perhaps often it's just opening your eyes to seeing what's going on out there, which is incredible. But just add on one last dot, just to open up one more dot. Aser Tasrenu Lach, you give and you continue to give. Last week's parsha, so Yaakov Avinu stole the brachos. Used the word stole liberally. Took the brachos, took what he was supposed to get. And Yaakov, what's the bracha? He gives him v'yitein lecha. V'yitein lecha, and then he continues. Rashi over there says, what's v'yitein lecha? That you should give and be able to keep on giving. That's the ultimate bracha, is to give and keep on giving. So the Ish Kodesh explains that this really answers up a kasha that many of us have in the back of our minds. Maybe we don't think about them. And again, we could talk about this for a long time, but I'm trying very hard not to. And he says that when something good comes to us, sometimes we almost don't want to focus on it. Because we think if we focus on it, Hashem's going to realize that things are going so well, or how could I focus on my good? People around me aren't having such good things. And we have all these funny things, just don't mention it and hopefully it will stay. Says the Ish Kodesh, we have it wrong. When we thank Hashem for what we have, we tap into the bracha of the Yitin Lecha. The ultimate bracha is to give and keep on giving. He says it obviously in more of the Kabbalistic spheres. He says there are tzinoiris and shamayim. And he says, when your tzinar is open and you're getting shefa, when you're makir, the shefa that you're giving, when you say thank you for that shefa, it allows the tzinar, it allows that pipe to stay open. It's almost like declogging, get all those leaves that are stuck into something. So when you say thank you to Hashem for something that happens to you, it's just keeping open the pathways to allow the shefa and bracha to keep on coming. So, b'siyata d'shmaya, if we were giving, we'll keep on giving. We're going to learn today how to give b'siyata d'shmaya, what we should be giving from, what we don't have to be giving from, what we're allowed to deduct from, what we should not deduct from, and hopefully, ultimately, we'll all be zeicha to the incredible bracha of Ma'aser, the incredible bracha of Harikaisi Lechem bracha ad b'lidai, the bracha of the Yitin Lecha that we'll get and we'll keep on getting and we'll keep on giving and be able to give some more and more and more and more. And we'll hopefully ultimately be able to live our life realizing, as Rabbeinu Bechaya in the Chavis Alvavai says, that life is a play. It's not how he says it, it's the way I heard it, so it just stuck in my brain this way. Life is a play. There's those who are actors as the wealthy men, and some actors are the poor men. And everyone has to act their part. The poor man, the way he acts is to get. The wealthy man, the way he acts is to give. All the money we're given is, of course, a pikadon from Hashem to do something with it. It's not just to send a bank account, and it's not just to, own insane amounts of everything. It's to do something. Be productive with your money. Money is the greatest thing in this world when utilized properly. So the biggest bracha, I think, is not only should we be able to continuously playing the part of the wealthy man, but realize the bracha that is not just the bracha on having the money, but what you could do with that money is absolutely incredible. And today's Torah should be an incredible schos for Kol HaChin and Kol Beis Yisrael, all the people that were mishtatef, and we'll talk about, I don't know those who were mishtatef, if your money came from Ma'aser. That's the first question. Maybe can your money come from Ma'aser? We're going to get there, hopefully, b'siyata d'shmaya. But for Kol HaChin and Kol Beis Yisrael, as well as Yitzchak Eizer ben Fredi, who is not just serving Klal Yisrael like we are, having the Koyach HaTorah, as the Chassam Sofer says, that the Koyach HaTorah is making from all Melchamas, but actually sitting there with the gun, and b'siyata d'shmaya, we should all be making. So what I like to do tonight is, unfortunately too much, and it's not night, it's day. What I like to do right now is we're going to talk about what you have to give Ma'aser from, what you can deduct from Ma'aser, and then finally what you could give Ma'aser to. Again, so what you could give, what requires Ma'aser, salary. Okay, what else? There's millions of types of things that we get and we whatever. What requires to be given Ma'aser from? What can be deducted from Ma'aser, which maybe is, I don't want to say which is the most important, which is important, and what you could use Ma'aser for. And I think, listen, I said before, it's always hard to know. Sometimes you want to know, like, you give a shiur, you're talking about, I don't know, what's a good example, not controversial example, I can't think of one. Whatever. You're giving shiur, you want to know what people are doing before you give the shiur. Are you coming in being mikkel? Are you coming in being machmir? Are you about to get lynched? It's important. But here, a little bit of everything, you never know. But here, I think I'll tell you what I found, the beauty of Ma'aser is the whole picture. It's the whole picture. And when you have the whole picture, you'll probably walk out with a little bit of a headache saying, wait, I'm not sure if I'm now have to give more, I have to give less. And that's the way it should be. You have to sit down. And someone told me, I don't know if this story is true, so I'll just preface with that Rabbi Sola Reisman, he wrote the book in Ribbis, which means he's a money guy. And he said he has never, this was many, many years ago, I know the world has become much more tzedakah conscious, Baruch Hashem. But he said he has never sat with someone and calculated their books, and they were actually giving more than Ma'aser. It was always the opposite. People think, I'm giving. And then when you sit down and you do the math and what about all of that money and all of that money? It's difficult. So let's go there. We have 20 minutes, b'siyata d'shmaya, 23 minutes. So let's get there. So number one, what requires Ma'aser? Again, what we'll try, anyone, of course, any questions, please ask. But if it's something that's coming, that's why I gave you the framework, let's try to hold off so we can get some clarity. What do you have to give a Ma'aser? Number one is, of course, salary. The money you make, you give a Ma'aser. Now, again, don't be worried, because our brain already starts thinking, boy, what about, that's going to be in the deduction category, right? It's almost like taxes, but it's not at all like taxes. So let's get there. Salary. The easiest way to remember what do you give Ma'aser from? The answer is money. Money, meaning not items, but money. And again, I should just preface, everything is a machlokes. Everything. Especially, mamish, every single thing here is a machlokes.
Rolex is a bonus?
If Rolex is a bonus, you don't have to give Ma'aser off. You don't have to give Ma'aser. Anyone looking to give Shashi a bonus, he would like a Rolex. And items you do not have to give off Ma'aser from. Items you do not have to give off Ma'aser from.
If you sell that item.
Yeah. If you sell that item, very good. If you sell the item, then unfortunately now you have money. Which is a cash present, which is a raffle, which is a lottery, which is if you find money. Tax returns is a big one. Now, tax returns, I'm leaving an asterisk there because it gets complicated. You purposely overpaid because you wanted to get the points. It gets complicated. What you're gonna. Good shtickle. You didn't know about that one. You learned something new today. There you go. That's it. You hate design. Finished. Yeah. Okay. We go. Listen. All monetary advice, I take no responsibility for it. I have never paid a bill in my life, and that's a real stat. So I take no responsibility for any monetary advice. I am trying just to give off the halacha. Okay, didn't realize that was be so loaded. So insurance, this is a good one. Right? Your car gets smashed up. And again, I'm not saying you're allowed to do this either. You have to be careful over here. Someone say, he said my car gets smashed up and damage is $100, and now I'm allowed to rip them off and claim $20,000, and then next day, God forbid, you're on the front cover of the Post, and it was the rabbi's fault because he says you're allowed to rip off the insurance company. That's not what we said. But if it happens, and sometimes it happens that you end up with more money, right? Meisim b'chol yom, and I'm talking about an all legal whatever's. Yeah, avada. So the answer is the extra money that you just got money. You just got money. Happened to have been, you got it because you smashed your car. You were the tzaras, right? You had tzaras in your wall. You broke down your house and you found cash. So you smashed your car, tzara. And what happened before you knew it? For some reason, let's just pretend like it all happened on its own. You had an extra $1,000. So that $1,000 you got a meiser from. Someone just handed you. No, I'm talking about the money on top of, excuse me, I didn't explain. On top of fixing the car. You fixed the car, it only costed $500 to fix the car. The extra money, avada, very good. I'm sorry if I didn't speak it out. That which is fixing the car, that's part of the car that you would not have. All cash. Credit card points I'm not getting involved in. How they work, huge machlaikisim. Do you have to give off? Do you not have to give off? The simple way to go is when anything comes into the form of cash, that's when you give off. That's when you give off meiser. So if you sell your 1 billion points, then you give off meiser. The points themselves not. It is a debated point, and if you just think about it, the point is a credit card point a chefsa of money or not? What makes something into money? It's something to think about. But there you would have... Yeah, exactly.
It's like a gift card.
Yeah.
But look at how the tax is treated. As long as you don't sell it.
Good.
Do
you take off a gift card?
So gift cards, pashtas are called cash. Again, as you're realizing, these last few items are the ones that are the very hotly debated ones. And as we're going to see, a lot of these things you could go both ways. And I don't want to, and usually we say, it's a makom to be makel. In the world of Meiser, we say it's a makom to be machmer, because then Hashem is going to give you back. I don't know if you're just machmer for no reason, if you're going to get the same bracha. The bracha comes through that derech. We'll mention, in case anyone didn't remember from last time, anytime you start to give off Meiser, you do it b'li neder. You make sure you say you do it b'li neder, number one. Number two is you say, I'm giving Meiser not only as for aniyim, we're going to get to in a moment, but I want to use my meiser for mitzvahs as well, because we're going to get to the whole list of what I want to use our meiser for. It really stops at aniyim, the lechatchila. So if you take on the minhag to give meiser, it's aniyim, and now all the things we're going to talk about, it'd be like, oh, whoops, I told you could pay for breakfast. No, you can't, because that's a mitzvah. But if you took on meiser with the mindset, and if you did it b'tayis, you didn't know what you were doing. L'meiser is a makom to be makel. Why go to a great gadol shir about nadarim? Not myself, and you'll try to figure it out because it's a complicated. I have an answer about your nadarim, Sheva, by the way. Just hit me as we're speaking.
Chinese auction.
As we're speaking. So. You take it on that you can give mitzvahs also. You take it on b'li neder, and you realize it's a minhag. Now, what if you have money? Good. So for all money things. What if you have money sitting for an item? How do we figure that out? Is it money or is it an item? What do you mean it's sitting for an item? That means, let's say someone gets married and he gets married, Baruch Hashem, he has a chasana and he gets, let's use the number, $25,000 as wedding money. And he wants to take that $25,000 and he wants to put it in a bank account. He's not going to touch it, and that's going to sit one day. I mean, that's not getting you anywhere near a down payment, maybe on a car, I don't know, but a bicycle. But it's sitting for a down payment. He's not touching it. How do you don that money? Says Rav Chaim Kanievsky, a massive chiddush. He says, someone gave you the money, a gift, gifts. We just said monetary gifts.
So at that moment,
and we're going to say even salary, we're going to talk about in a moment. Even your salary. Let's see. What's that?
At that moment, you should give.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Again. One second. We can even talk salary. 1 second. Let's. Good. This is the machlokes, and this is where good chiddush of Chaim.
I got a $20,000 bonus today.
Yeah.
I would put it all away in the savings.
Good.
At the moment I got the $20,000, I have to save away $2,000.
No. So listen. Very good. There's a fine nuance that we're missing. You're not just putting it away in savings. You're putting it away, says Rav Chaim Kanievsky, for an item. Says Rav Chaim, you could be an ani. 1 second. You could be an ani for an item. Massive chiddush. He says, for example, a house. He says, I want to take the $25,000 and I want to put it in an account. I'm not touching it. It's going to sit there, hopefully accrue interest. And then one day that's going to be my house. Says Rav Chaim, you don't have a house. So you're an ani with regard to your house. You do not have to take off a meiser from that money. Now again, it's a heter. Someone says, what do you mean? I got cash.
Eventually when it's $2 billion.
No.
If you take it out, it
depends. If you take it out and you use it just for the house, nope, then all it is, it was a house. This is Rav Chaim's chiddush. Yeah.
Why do you have money besides items?
So says Rav Chaim, Says Rav Chaim, if it's earmarked for a specific item, again, it doesn't just mean, I'm using it for my groceries. This is earmarked for a cup of orange juice. This is earmarked for a cup of water.
Earmarking for a second home in Florida, that's fine?
Oh, good. So the pashta is very good. Very good. Everyone else is sitting here.
Go straight to that account.
No, then he's not an onion. If he has a house, it's just an extra house.
Oh, very good. So the pashta says, that's why I said this far.
Depends in which circles.
Very good. See, that happens to be, that's one thing we did talk about, and let's mention a shayla. Let's mention a shayla. The shayla is, when do you have to start giving off meiser? We mentioned this last time, but let's just go one dot deeper, and it's going to answer a lot of these questions. The answer is, when do you start giving off meiser? When you have money, no. The answer is wait. But if you are a quote-unquote ani, I know that sounds not nice to call ourselves an ani, but 1 second. If you're a quote-unquote ani, then you don't give a meiser. What makes you an ani? What makes you an ani is that you're not able to live the means that is normal. Now, you read the Aruch HaShulchan over here, and, not so forgiving. He says it means you have to have bread, water, and a place to sleep. If you have that, then you're not an ani. But comes along other paiskim.
That's what I tried telling my wife.
What, bread, water, and a place to sleep. Comes along. What's that? I just don't want to confuse everyone. The Sefer Stako Mishpat, Rav Blai, who's the foremost authority on all these inyanim, he says, no, come on. It doesn't mean. It means in each circles. Parenthetically, Navardik, Lamaisa, they had a lot of money. So it's a little bit of a kasha. That was the big fight, Navardik and Radin. Chavetz Chaim had no money. He was making Kiddush on Challah. And Navardik, he's busy hacking whether you could have a ruglach after Kiddush before you make a maitzi. And everyone's saying, ruglach after Kiddush, we don't even have milk. We have nothing. But okay, you just have to know where you're talking to. But either way, so Sefer Stako Mishpat says it goes by your norms. Now, what is the norm? So, without getting too emotional over here, it's still early in the morning for some of us, let's just say what's like somewhat the norm. Meaning, everyone's going to agree a place to live and food and something to drive. Good. Is a vacation? Definitely a simple once-a-year vacation. We'll all agree you need to air your brain. Now, does that mean you have to go to Cancun? No. Maybe in some circles, I agree. But let's just talk in like, we hope and pray that where we're living is still somewhat normal. Baruch Hashem, we're still, I think we're still somewhat there. So, let's even say Florida, maybe one could say Florida. I don't even know if that's true. I don't know, you get in your car, you drive 2-3 hours, you stay somewhere. So that costs money. So that's part of the norm. So if you calculate all these things and basic living expenses, then you realize that at the end of the day, I don't have any money left. That's called you're a quote-unquote ani, kabi meiser, and then you would not have an obligation to give meiser. Again, there's no obligation to start. It's a minhag, but you wouldn't have to give a meiser. Now, there's always a chumrah to separate meiser, take it from your right pocket and put it in your left pocket. Why? Because the bracha, and a lot of this is the shtickle heebie-jeebie, as we explained, but that's just the way it works. The bracha of meiser comes from the hafrasha. So when you separate meiser, that's how you get the bracha. So many poskim say, even if you can't give it, separate it. And then what? Put it on the side and then spend it the next day for whatever you need to spend it for. So the question is, how much could we include in that level? And it gets very complicated. But that sort of goes back to the question over here. Rav Chaim's giving us a chiddush over here. If someone wants, and I'm going to point out why it might not be so practical. You take your wedding money and you put it away for your house, you're an ani for a house, and you don't have to give a meiser. But you have to be careful. That means you can't touch that money. If that money you also dip into when you have to this and you have to that and you have to this, that means it's not earmarked for your house. That means it's no different than the rest of your money. It's just you're trying to be a wise, person, and you're trying to trick yourself into thinking that you don't touch that money. That's all that's really happening. There's no difference. But if it's properly sitting somewhere for something, that's where what's going on? It's good. Oh, that's where you would have this heter. That's where you would have this heter. If you take your credit card points and they go straight, you skip the money stage, you also would not take off a meiser, even though there's a cash value, of course, and you use them to pay for X, but then it never came to the point of money, then you would not have to take off meiser.
A gift card.
What?
If it's cash back.
So when you get the cash, you would have to take off the meiser.
So the form of the cash usually is just paying the bill. Isn't necessarily.
Yeah, so that gets complicated. That gets very complicated. It gets very complicated. The pashtus is you still have to. How in the world you can figure that out is impossible. Which, by the way, I mentioned. Very good. I'm happy you mentioned that. There's the other thing we should have in mind. I want to give meiser. I hope and pray I give more. Hopefully we'll get the chaimish. But I want that I'm giving meiser. Meaning, So all these little shailulachs, these $10 here and these $100 here and these things that might be very difficult to calculate, and okay, when the money gets bigger, it's not so little anymore, but then it will be nichlal in your tzedakah. But you're right, that does get complicated, and if it was a big purchase, then I would say you would want to earmark what it was, even though it went directly, because cash back pashtus is called cash. Of course, there are those that are chaylik and say you never actually got the item, whatever. Oh, good. Let's go to insurance. And this really goes into deductions. So again, that's what you have to give from. That's what you have to not give from. But now the question is, what about deductions? Are there deductions? So the answer is, there certainly are deductions. And deductions are the things that are necessary for you to make money. Because again, we have to reorient our brain. Ma'aser is not as simple as any penny that I get, I have to give Ma'aser from. As we just mentioned, that if I'm not making ends meet, I don't give Ma'aser. If I'm running a business, there's money that comes in, there's money that comes out. At which point do you give off the Ma'aser? Is it the profit at the end of the year? Well, one second. How many things did I sort of shtup into my business account just because I wanted to? Yeah, if I use my business card for supper, that means all of a sudden that $500 supper bill, I'll take a Ma'aser, like what sheikhs? Just because I decided to make it a quote-unquote business account because we discussed business over dinner. Does that really work? So the basic answer is the things which are necessary for the business. This is more relevant for someone that has their own business, meaning that you're figuring out your own books. When you work for someone else, it's not as relevant because you get a salary, but I'll tell you where it is. But let's say in your own business for a moment, Amir Tashem, everyone should be. I think it's a bracha, no? Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I guess so. You always want to be the owner. But anything that is necessary for the business. Now, I want to show you how far this goes. Do you have any professional, everyone's professionals, I didn't mean that insulting. Anyone that went to higher level school here? No one. One? Baruch Hashem, we have a lawyer. Gewaldig. Law school. Oh, really? So let's go. But now it can be hard because your law school has nothing to do with what you're doing.
I'm a smart lawyer.
Very good. I don't know, he has a Rolex coming, a house in Florida coming. I'm not so sure. Let's say someone is going to school. And he needs his school for his business. That's why your example is a little bit difficult. But let's say he needs your school to get into whatever job you want. Let's say higher education. A lot of businesses, they make you take courses in this and that and this and that. Sometimes the business piece, sometimes not. That education is necessary for your business. That's a business expense. And that could be deducted. So much so, let's say someone becomes a doctor. So he's starting off well in the hole. Well in the hole, and it takes years to dig out of that hole. But now, so much so, even as he's digging out, the money goes, he doesn't take off Ma'aser yet, because he's paying off his education to one day make money. So it's a wild thing if you think about it. He's not going to be taking off Ma'aser. Again, he's allowed to, and maybe if he's getting help, and maybe if he's whatever, maybe he should. But if you think about it, that's no different than the electric bill in my office. My electric bill in my office, certainly I'm not going to take Ma'aser from, right? I'm going to pay all my bills, and then at the end of the day, I'm going to have my, 100K. Let's just use an easy round number. And from there, I take off Ma'aser. What do you mean? You know how many things you paid before that 100K? That's because that was necessary to make the business run. So education is one of those that you could do as well. Now, what else? A car, if it's only for the business, which often is not so relevant. It has to be only. Again, if you want it to be a proper deduction, it has to be for the business.
For a car expense. Maybe if you
gas. Good, very good. Gas and tolls. Gas and tolls would be a very easy one. Someone travels, and every single day they're racking up gas and tolls. So that bill, and as you're realizing, as we're talking, you're realizing it's not as simple as just take your bank statement and just give 10%. And it requires what?
Why is that far different than, let's say, paying a mortgage on your house? It's saying if you can put the money aside to buy a house, because you don't have a house until you have it.
Good.
A mortgage is the same thing. You don't own the house yet. You're still working towards it. So whatever you pay towards your mortgage is the same way like an expense you have, let's say, for education.
Oh, good. So good. So this you're asking a very good question. That's a very good question. And let's play out your question. Hopefully without getting a headache. I mean, you're all money people, so this is normal for you guys. Let's play this out. I feel like I'm back in a zone neshech over here. I'm trying to get the dust almost there. So let's play out a scenario.
So that's considered normal to have more.
Oh, very good. Normal. Good. This is what we have to play out, and something fascinating happens over here. We said if you're not making it in the world of normal, you don't have to give Ma'aser, because you're called an ani. But then the moment you're making it, what do you give Ma'aser from? Meaning, your expenses are 150K. And you're making 145K, you don't have to give a Ma'aser. That means you're not making it. That means you're going month to month to month to month. You're having a little bit of interest here. You're not making it. You don't have to give a Ma'aser. Once you hit the 150K, you give Ma'aser. But now when you make 160, you give Ma'aser off of 10? No. That's the answer to the question. You give Ma'aser now on everything. Because now you're quote unquote an usher. You're not an ani anymore.
But now I'm an honest.
But you're still an ani.
You theoretically. So you're right. It's gonna it's gonna get complicated. But the answer is the basic expense. It's a massive machlekes, and I did see that some want to say, which I think answers what you just said, that if the only way you're going to be able to do it is by not including it, then don't include it. At least give Ma'aser. You have to understand that. But let's raise the numbers. Amir Hashem, right? So your expenses are 150 and you're making 500. So do you now only take off of that additional 350 or the whole thing? The answer is the whole thing. The answer is the whole thing because that's all your profit. Now it's true, you have to have a house and you have to have all these things, but basic living expenses do not come off of Ma'aser.
Which is different than, let's say, the medical school.
Yes, very good. And the house, it's very different. Both of those are different. That's what I wanted to continue with. When it comes to the school expenses, that's a business expense. It's not a personal expense. My business, in order to run, needs to have electricity. I need to rent a room. If you're a business, you have to pay rent. That doesn't come from your pocket. It comes from the business's pocket. Only after all of that, you give off Ma'aser. You have to have electricity. You maybe have to have cleaning up in the office. All the millions of things. Only after that, you give a Ma'aser. Similarly, with you asking about the house, that's because the money is being earmarked. It's never mine. That's Rav Chaim's massive chiddush. And listen, only Rav Chaim Kanievsky.
Wish I knew it before.
Yeah, there you go. But the answer is no, the opposite. That's how you have to buy your second house in Florida now, because you got so much bracha that you're buying two now. Good. So now let's pull it full circle. Oh, one more good example. You're going on a business trip. So, business trip, you don't pay for. That meaning you don't have, again, it gets complicated because who's paying for it and then like things get very confusing. But again, let's just, a nostalgic world, you have your own business, it's your own money, and therefore you're just figuring everything out. Once you're a salaried employee and then you have to like figure this all out, it gets very complicated. But even let's say you're a salaried employee and you have to make a business trip to Florida, but your business makes that you pay for arrangements. So you pay for arrangements, wonderful, but that doesn't come from your pocket. That's pre-Ma'aser. Now, what about if you also enjoy the trip? Is that personal or is that business? I'm going to Florida for business, but L'maisa, I'm in Florida myself for 3 days and I'm going to also relax. So the answer is, why did you go? Would you have went if not for the business? This is how the Chavas Yair writes it, and this is L'chaira. And also, it's very mistaver that, why are you going? You would never, I hope you wouldn't just get up and tell your family cold tub for 3 days, I'm going to Florida just to sit on the beach. That's not so normal and healthy. And I'll just leave it at that. If someone is holding that's normal and healthy.
What if my wife joins me to the trip?
Oh, very good.
But she wouldn't have gone if I didn't go for the business trip.
Now you want to put it all in the
She's there,
business.
but she definitely is not working. So is that? By the way, I had that.
Yeah,
my wife joined me once or twice.
So good. So the answer is that your part, Pashtus, you are only still going because of the business. The whole thing wouldn't have started. So you're on a business trip, so yours is a business account. Now you're a smart person, so now you want to make it worthwhile, but that part is not a business expense. Now, this also gets complicated.
Even though she wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, and even if you maybe chopped the business and you told them, I only could go if my wife could come, and therefore they paid for it, ala kutazachen, and you put it on the business card, yeah, whatever. It depends on your business. But that would not work. Okay, we're officially running out of time. So if your company pays for health insurance. I did not.
I've always heard that the baseline
Company pays. Yeah. That is the pashtus. I think this. Okay, I didn't look at it beforehand, so I don't want to say a chiddush.
What's the question? You pay health insurance, okay, now what?
Yeah.
You're getting $20,000 a year. You're getting $20,000. Just they're paying you for it. Oh, so that's not an item. It's not an item. It's not an item. It's a benefit.
Is it real money?
Oh, so this is the fight. That's what I think.
I'm just getting
Again.
No, but
if you have a deductible.
No, but if they're paying, it's not real. It's not.
You know, get
I understand what you're saying. Let me
They're
explain.
paying for a service.
It's a write-off for them. It's not even
paying
money
for
for them.
No, depends, right? But it's free.
Also, if
So I'll
you're
tell you the
saying
answer.
money, of what value?
Right.
What they're paying or
Right.
what the market?
Right. So let's right. So let's give an interesting comparison. I'm going to leave this shy a little bit unanswered because it is very, very intricate. I have to look it up again. We can talk about it, but a lot of it has to depend on. Everyone needs health insurance. You need health insurance, right? So, but you don't need this health insurance, correct? If you didn't have this health insurance, what would you do? So now it gets very complicated because, well, it depends how much money you're making. If you're not making a certain amounts of money and then you'd be able to get government insurance, so that means you're not really getting a monetary value. Because if you didn't get from the business, you would get from the government, and therefore you didn't get anything. So then, what this is very similar to is, shul membership. Shul membership, is that, can you pay Ma'aser with it? That's really the next part. So now the answer is that a chayv or not? So in the nostalgic world of Shulchan Aruch, it's, you don't pay membership, you don't walk into the shul. You know, you sit down, they throw you out in Kol Tov, and they send the tax collectors to your door, and you got to pay your dues, you got to pay the city dues. And I think there still are places in the world that run that way. The world that we live in, the world that we live in, it doesn't really exist so much. And the world that we live in, if one doesn't actually pay their membership, we still let them into shul and we still let them daven. Even as far as like Yom Noraim, the world that we live in, it used to be, you don't have a seat, you can't come in. Now you definitely come in. Yeah, Vada. In Europe's still very nostalgic in this world. Yeah. In Europe is a different world. But in the American world, so that means you now could, yes, use Ma'aser for it. Because if you didn't have to, you wouldn't have to pay for it. Meaning, if I wanted to show up at the shul, Yom Narayim, and I'm not going to say, no one's going to say boo to me. Or if I take a chair that's extra chair incident, no one's going to say anything to me. In other parts of the world, they would. You didn't pay membership. You didn't pay for your seat. What are you doing here? But that means you didn't get a value. So it's similar to your insurance. You have to try to figure out if you got a value, and then you have to try to figure out how much value you got. And then you have to. It is complicated. Yeah, very complicated. And I don't want to go into that. I'm going to end with. Number one. What do you do with investments? What do you do with investments? Investments are a parsha. Hopefully everyone should have investments. And again, I'm not the one to talk about money, but investments are very important. That part I do know. Don't. Very good. So let's just go a simple case. I take my $100,000 and I put it into whatever I put it into. When do I give off Ma'aser? So of course, before I made extra $100,000. Someone gave me $100,000. I give Ma'aser of it. Great. I gave my $10,000 away. Good. Now I take $90,000 and I put it into wherever I put it into. Good. What do I deal with afterwards? Meaning, when do I give Ma'aser? I get earnings quarterly, yearly, blah. When do I give off Ma'aser? There's two ways to do this. What? No. On the earnings, on the profit. I hope there's going to be profit. When do you give a Ma'aser? So there's really two ways to do this. Either what you could do is, you could do it when. There's no way every investment works differently. The real answer is you could do it when you actually have the money, but you just have to keep it organized, because that can mean that you could have money sitting somewhere, and you have to realize that hopefully the money is growing, and all that money is unmeisered money. Now, we like each year Rosh Hashanah to walk into the new year knowing, Hashem, I paid on my chayvus and now you pay me up. That's what we like to do. But the problem here is, how do we do that in such an investment? The money's sitting there, I don't have the money yet. So you're allowed to wait until you cash out. You certainly are. Or what you could do is you could earmark, right? You could earmark that I gave, let's say you made an extra $20,000, so you could say I gave $2,000, and you have on that portfolio that 20 of the profit was paid Ma'aser, and then as it grows, you could do it also. Good. Now, what do you do? Are you allowed to offset losses and gains? This is a massive machlekes. Some people want to say mehechatesi. You gained here, and you lost. So the answer, it's no one answer. It's a big machlekes. But the way that I was mikabel is that we're allowed to look at everything in one big pot. Hashem's our partner. That's what's going on over here. Hashem gave us money. He invested in us. He gave us money to use for your life, to use for your tzedakah, to use for your family, and to give out, to give you for your tzedakah. Hashem's a good partner. And if you turn to Hashem and you tell him, listen, the business lost $20,000 here, but that profit gain, don't worry about it, it's going to work out. So you're allowed to do that, and you're allowed to offset checks and balances, and if this one lost here and this one gained here, you're allowed to look at the bottom line with regard to really everything, but there's a lot of things to figure out, and it's not as simple as taxes. Not everything that you could write off on taxes is what we spoke about tonight. A lot of things you can, like we said, the easiest one is, what we spoke about, business expenses. Lots of things we're going to make business expenses that in the world of business you're allowed to do, or your office will allow you to do different things, but not necessarily does that work in reality. It worked on the books, which is okay as long as you have a good accountant, and make sure you have a good accountant. But, do it legally. My point is, that's not necessarily the way that it works for way it works out. We're officially over time. I just want to run through a few things you could give Ma'aser to that you might not think of. Again, number one, of course, is you give Taniyim. Number one is, we said, is yourself. Number two is actually even before Aniyim. It's actually fascinating. It's muchach everywhere. And I don't know why no one says this, so I'm a little bit nervous. I saw a few people that wrote this, but I've never heard anyone make a big deal about this. Is all the tuition breaks that you get to pay that back first. If you think about it, it makes the most sense because they give you off. So now if you're able to give it, you got to give them back. That's really what you owe. Someone could debate that no, they only make the prices so high, so they give you the break. I don't know. I saw numerous svarim. I saw numerous svarim that wrote that you have to. But again, I never heard anyone talk about this, so I just want to leave it at that. Family is what?
What about tuition itself?
Tuition itself, we'll get to. Oh my gosh, we're very out of time. Very out of time. We should go for part 3. Which we want? Or should we go 5 more minutes?
Part 3.
So we should stop here.
Part 3, just run through the.
Okay, we'll run through a few things. Okay, so just fine. Stop. Let's go. You give to your family next. Give to your family, and then goes your neighborhood. Family is very important, and people don't realize that. If someone has a sibling, a parent that's hurting financially, they get your money first. We're busy giving to every organization, which is beautiful, give a holiday, but one's parents, they brought you to this world, Parents, you could 100% give Ma'aser. The first level of Ma'aser is your parents. First level. So your own children, this gets into the tuition, Shiloh, which is.
Parents is not considered nice because for our cousin type, what they do for you, you should pay.
You should give them everything in the world, but avad, you can give. Yeah, it's both. It's a curse type. Yeah, of course. I'm not saying you should tell them, by the way, I'm only giving you.
I can launder the Ma'aser. I'm giving my parents. So
they can pay your tuition.
Support
Yeah. So that's very important. What can you use Ma'aser for? So we said mitzvahs, and that's the answer. Any non-obligatory mitzvah you could use Ma'aser for after Aniyim. Now, what do you mean after Aniyim? There's an unlimited amount of Aniyim. So the easiest way to do it is you split your Ma'aser money in half. This is not a real, but this is like in mindset. You have to give to Aniyim, but you want to give to other causes, and you want to give it. So we'll get to the second. Personal farm, you can't. Personal farm, because that's just your own benefit. You don't need that sefer. That's not the mitzvah itself. If you want to buy, some people, what they do is they buy the sefer and they say it's hefker and it belongs to anyone, and then they lose it in their own house. It's a little bit complicated. I don't know. You should. I don't know. I would do it. You give it to shul. You can donate to shul and you can use it in shul. I think you ask the gabbai if you could borrow it, and I'll tell you no, because you're going to lose it. You say, but I only donate. It's like a borrow. I'd say, okay, so then don't give it from Ma'aser. But either way, so when it comes to mitzvahs, you could do. For example, we sat here at a beautiful breakfast this morning. We all know, let's just be honest, I know you love hearing me talk, and I know this was a lot of fun. But bottom line, if there was no food on the table, I'd be sitting here with my camera, and I don't want to say who else will be here. Let's just be honest, food. So that means that is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, which probably, if you think about it, not whatever, that means that the eating is also a mitzvah that allowed you to learn, and it's true, it's real. So that means you could pay for such a thing from Ma'aser. Can you pay from a kiddush from Ma'aser? 100%. Now, there is a point that it gets out of control. Can I then go and buy the most expensive bottle of alcohol and use it for a kiddush and say it's from Ma'aser? There is a point it gets out of control because I don't know if that is a mitzvah anymore, right? A basic breakfast, a basic kiddush, a basic function, that's all going to be.
Depend on the environment.
100%. Oh, Avada. Yeah, I'm sorry. If the kiddush is a one big whatever, then yes, it's not a mitzvah, and don't give Ma'aser money to there. Finally, I have triple underlined here. I guess I wanted to remind myself, and I didn't, but I finally got to know. Money spent for Shalom Bayis. That's a very good one. It's a very, very good one.
Please elaborate.
Very good one. Very good. So now, how far to take this is something to think about. I'm going to leave it open-ended.
This needs a class
What?
of its own.
Wait, that makes you nutty. Yeah. So we'll end with there. Money spent for Shalom Bayis, this is the biggest mitzvah in the world. You get all the Sefer Hasidim writes that Shalom, you have Shalom in your household, brings the biggest bracha in the world, more than everything. Is having Shalom in your house. So you just have to be honest. Okay, great. Honey, new diamond ring. It's on the Ma'aser account. I don't know if that's true, but if there's maybe something that one does need for their Shalom Bayis, and the only way they're going to do that is from there, then ain't chanami. Yeah. You want to go out with your wife, and let's be honest, things are expensive. If it's real, you just have to be honest. You have to be honest. As we said, 100%. As we said, Hashem knows the MS, b'siyata d'shmaya, in the schus of, there you go, in the schus of tzedakah, we should all only see, give of chaimish, there you go. We're give you of chaimish now. We should only see the most incredible bracha.